Okay, Miriam, would you like to join me with your video on so people can see us and say hi? Hi,
Of course.
everyone. Welcome. I'm the director and founder of the MindBodyFood Institute, and I'm joined by Miriam Gauchi, who is the author of the MindBody Syndrome TMS Practitioner course. We're very excited about this course because it is quite a new practitioner course, and it's a brand new modality that we actually applied to have recognized outside of the medical arena. So it is the only MindBody Syndrome TMS practitioner course that you'll be able to complete, whether for personal journey and healing or to actually help clients. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But firstly, to get started, please make sure that you read this disclaimer so that you understand what we are presenting is purely about our course and information about the actual topic of mind-body syndrome and TMS. It is not to give personal advice on your own chronic pain, although we do welcome questions that we're happy to answer after the live. Please also note that this is being recorded and it will be used as a replay for those participants who have not been able to join us live. So what we're going to cover and jump straight into is what mind-body syndrome TMS actually is. TMS stands for tension myositis syndrome, in case you are not aware of that term. Miriam will talk a little bit more about that term and what it's being called or transitioning into in different communities. We're going to talk about why emotional trauma and mindset play a crucial role in chronic pain and how that contributes and manifests. We're going to talk about what kind of symptoms that you as a practitioner can learn how to solve, and also you as a person who may be struggling with chronic pain, how you can identify the symptoms that may be considered mind-body syndrome symptoms and how you can help to solve those for yourself. We're also going to talk about how to help yourself and others heal from chronic pain, the personal and professional benefits, and what makes this certification unique in the field of TMS. We're going to talk about who this course is for briefly and how to gain certification if you're interested in undertaking our mind-body syndrome TMS practitioner course. So jumping straight in, Miriam, what is mind-body syndrome, or also known as TMS, tension myositis syndrome?
Right. So TMS was the original term actually coined by Dr. John Sarno, who we'll be talking about a little bit later, who discovered this connection between what's happening emotionally and what's happening on a physical level in certain people. So it refers to any pain, any kind of painful condition, but also any other symptoms that result in the body due to what's happening emotionally. And usually these are due to a negative emotion and as well as repressed emotions. So when we repress our emotions because we're too scared to deal and talk about what's happened, when we feel stuck and fearful, the body produces certain changes. So there's always a chemical change in the body, okay, after any emotion we experience. And one of the changes can actually be translated as tension in the muscles. So when we feel stressed, anxious, when we have a buildup of frustration and rage, what happens is we might get tension in the body, increased tension, maybe increased inflammation in the body, and that eventually manifests as real physical pain. So I like to emphasize just one thing, that when we refer to TMS chronic pain, what we're referring to is psychosomatic pain that is still physical. So there's really something physical happening in the body, but the origin to it is always emotional. It's always due to the way we're processing our experiences, right? So just to repeat, so by TMS, mind-body syndrome, we refer to physical pain that is experienced as a result of stressors, traumatic experiences, and negative emotions. And because we are also different, we can manifest TMS pain in various parts of the body, wherever actually it makes sense to our brain. So for example, it's very common for people to get TMS pain on the site of an old injury, because that really makes much more sense for them. So it varies from individual to another. And it could manifest as back pain, which is very common, neck pain, unexplained migraines, okay, or tension headaches. Sciatica pain is also very, very common when there's no other structural explanation for it. Piriformis pain, neuropathic pain, and also fibromyalgia symptoms. In fact, Dr. Sarno, who first talked about TMS, he insisted that fibromyalgia was just an extreme manifestation of TMS in the body. And that happens as a result of the brain becoming oversensitive to certain triggers. So the brain can learn to process pain differently, right? In fact, lately, TMS is also starting to be called pain reprocessing, because it all has to do with how our brain processes pain. So for some people, just hitting their hand against the wall wouldn't hurt at all for normal people. But for certain people, just hitting their hand softly against the wall would really hurt. And that's because their brain has learned to process the pain differently. It's called central sensitization, pain sensitization. And it can happen a lot as a result of past trauma, anxiety, and stress. All of these things make it more likely for the brain to perceive pain differently. Okay, so that's kind of TMS in a nutshell.
Great. And just out of curiosity, for those of you who are joining us live, it'd be wonderful if we could actually see in the chat box if you currently suffer from any of these symptoms. It's really interesting to note if you are here to personally help heal yourself, or if you are here to help a family member or friend, or if you are here because maybe through your own personal experience and your introduction to this work, or even maybe to Dr. Sarno, that you now have a desire to help other people through education and support of those who struggle with chronic pain. So please feel free to let us know in the chat box, do you struggle with any of these symptoms that you recognize would be considered psychosomatic and part of MindBody syndrome symptoms?
Yeah, if I could just add something, usually there are various indicators that these symptoms are MindBody syndrome, TMS, and not just an acute injury. First of all, in most people, injuries can heal within 4 to 6 months. So when pain persists for years, sometimes some people have back pain for like 10 years or more, then there's something else going on probably in the body. It's a process we call conditioning as well. It's that the body learns to keep generating the pain response, okay, due to various reasons. And one of them can be obviously the fight or flight response, because we keep reacting to the pain in fear. We keep feeding the cycle through our fear, for example. And we also forget how to visualize a pain-free life for ourselves, because the pain becomes so familiar to us.
Yeah, part of the conditioning process.
Exactly.
So moving on to, why does emotional trauma and mindset play a crucial role in chronic pain? We've got a bit of a quote for you here by Dr. John Sarno himself. There is nothing like a little physical pain to keep your mind off your emotional problems.
Yeah, that's right. So according to Dr. Sarno, the American doctor who first came up with the term TMS, and who's really famous, by the way, for healing people, even through his books, according to him, TMS comes up as a distraction from other emotional problems, emotional issues that have been repressed in the individual. So to take your mind off certain issues that you really don't want to deal with, certain issues that really make you feel uncomfortable. For example, just to give like a simple example, there might be someone who's having certain issues in a relationship, but this person is really, really afraid of conflict. She's really afraid to speak to her partner, to bring up a certain issue with her partner, because she hates conflict. And also she would hate to admit that perhaps her marriage is not quite perfect. She has this vision, this idea that her marriage has to be perfect. She doesn't even want to admit that there's something not quite right that she needs to address. Because of this fear of conflict, because of this fear of shattering her image of the marriage, okay, she might get TMS pain as a result to distract her and to keep her mind off all of these problems. Because then, now that she's got the pain, she's going to have her full attention on the pain. She's going to tend to her pain. Probably her pain will also serve so that her husband will even support her more or care for her more. It sounds a little bit crazy when you hear it the first time, but pain is always there to get us out of danger. even if it's intense, unbearable pain. It's always there to serve a purpose, to get us out of another danger. So for some people, it serves the purpose of getting them out of work, for example, because they're so frustrated and they feel so stuck at work. So yes, basically, this is how TMS works.
For those who are going to be watching the replay and for those who are live with us, can you explain the difference between suppression and repression of emotions?
Yes, right. So in the case of suppression, the individual is really, really aware that there's an issue that's bothering him or her. So that's not too bad, right? So let's say that someone has got a kid and this kid is really driving him crazy. And he knows that, he's a little bit angry at this kid, but he just doesn't want to be too angry at the kid because he doesn't want to traumatize the kid. He wants to be gentle with the kid. But in that case, he is aware of what he's feeling inside and that sometimes the kid's making him tick. So that's suppression. So it's not too bad because the individual is aware of what's going on. He can maybe deal with his feelings later, okay? But with repression, basically, we don't even know exactly what's going on. We don't even know exactly how much an issue is affecting us. We are a little bit in denial. So it's like someone who thinks that his marriage is perfect because he doesn't even want to face the issues. He doesn't even want to think about maybe that they have problems. So that's repression in that case, which is far worse because the thing is, the unconscious will always know that there's something wrong. It's just the conscious that kind of forgets, but the unconscious is actually very powerful as well. And that's why then there can be chronic pain symptoms as a result, because it has to come out somehow, this kind of danger. It's the danger of, for example, the marriage not working is still there in the unconscious. So it's the unconscious trying to warn the person that there's something happening maybe. So repression is far worse than suppression.
Yeah. And one thing you've mentioned a couple of times now, which we know can be a contributing factor as a personality trait, is perfectionism or having things to be perfect. That often can be a personality trait of suppressing who you really are in order to behave in a certain way or achieve to the degree that you think that you should. Can you let people know just briefly about personality traits that may contribute to mind-body syndrome?
Sure. So basically, it was also Dr. Sarno who noticed certain things in common between those patients who are not responding to conventional treatment, okay? So those patients who are actually suffering from TMS pain rather than an injury. And he noticed that some of them had certain common personality traits. So some of them were perfectionists, others were what we call people pleasers. They wanted to please everyone around them at the expense of their own needs and desires, okay? And just to give an example with people pleasers, for example, there's a lot of repression going on in that case, and there's a lot of internal rage as well, because you kind of know that you are denying some things to yourself because you want to be there for others instead, but your unconscious knows that you need certain things, right? So there's a lot of internal rage. You don't want to admit that you're angry because you want to stay positive and you want to keep a good relationship with everyone. So in that case, the rage, when it really, really builds up, when there's a really stressful time, maybe when other people demand more of you than usual, then you might get TMS pain as a result, because it just gets too much. There's a point when our frustration, our rage, our stressors, they reach a certain boiling point. And the more we ignore them, the more we try to repress them and maybe make light of them, even if we're a bit aware of what's happening, the more likely it is for pain to manifest. So those are the most common two personality traits: the people pleaser, the perfectionist as well, because he wants to work hard at the expense of maybe taking a break, at the expense of relaxing, and he's very, very demanding on himself, okay? Then there are other traits like catastrophic thinkers, okay? People who tend to worry too much about the future. They're constantly scanning for threats, so they're in fight or flight, okay? Or the stoic, the person who doesn't want to be emotional, who doesn't want to feel his emotions, so he's going to repress them.
Open the gate and everything might come out, and they're not ready for that. We've actually
Okay.
got a couple of blogs on personality traits that one of our graduates has actually written. So when we send out the replay for this, I'll include the links to that part 1 and part 2 for personality traits for those of you who are interested to perhaps investigate what those traits are and if they resonate with your own behaviors and attitudes. So moving on to what kind of symptoms can you learn how to solve, learning about mind-body syndrome, TMS, and all the things that go along with it.
Yeah, so it's very important usually to treat the symptom as TMS. Ideally, you would have had the symptom for over 6 months, just to make sure that there's nothing else going on, that there isn't an injury that still has to be healed. And also, people always have to check with their doctors or specialists whenever they get pain for the first time, especially intense pain. They have to make sure that there's nothing else going on, like cancer or infection, okay, which do not fall under TMS really. So even though TMS can take place in a time frame that's shorter than 6 months, and it just can occur right now if you're stressed, ideally to treat it using the TMS approach, you would have had it for a while just to be on the safe side, or at least you would have checked with your doctor or specialist and had all the tests and made sure that there's no other physical explanation for it. Okay, so the kind of symptoms that can be treated as TMS include muscular and nerve pain, okay, with no apparent physical cause. Sometimes there's also this issue that through imaging techniques these days, they do find the physical cause. So for example, herniated discs are often blamed as the cause for pain. But this has become highly debatable these days, because the thing is, there are a lot of people out there who are totally free of pain and who also have herniated discs, for example. So the thing is, a lot of imperfections in the body that are identified through MRI and imaging are actually incidental and are actually not the cause for pain. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky for certain individuals, because they hold on to a diagnosis. They know that there's something not quite perfect. None of us are perfect, like our body is not symmetrical. There are certain imperfections, and as we age, these imperfections might increase, okay? You might develop arthritis. But the thing is, even though we are not perfect, the kind of pain that you get from TMS is usually far more intense to make sense to blame these other imperfections. So it's all about making sense. It's all about asking the right questions. If you've got, let's say, a herniated disc somewhere, you need to ask your doctor, but does it make sense that I have such intense pain because of that little imperfection? Does it make sense that I have pain in this location? Does it really correlate to the location of the structural imperfection or whatever? So it's very, very important to ask the right question, because unfortunately these days Western medicine tends to so easily, blame pain on something that's not quite perfect in the body, when sometimes that's really not the case. And that was one of Sarno's most difficult things to get across, basically. So yeah, as I said, symptoms that have been previously blamed on an old injury or a structural imperfection in the body, and which have not improved following conventional treatment like physical therapy or surgery. So we know that most people first resort to conventional medicine and to physical therapy to treat their symptoms. But when you've gone through all these treatments and the symptoms are still there or have gotten worse, then it's time to look into another possibility, okay? And also, one way to really identify TMS for some people is to look at the nature of the symptoms. So chronic symptoms tend to either move around in the body, so it's not just one location, okay? They tend to change location, change in intensity throughout the day, or also change from one day to another. Some people also get the same symptom at exactly the same time every year, because they associate that time with a traumatic experience, for example, okay? So it doesn't make sense to explain something like that simply on a physical level. There's always something emotional going on, okay? Some people have good pain days and bad pain days. But if there's a structural imperfection in the body that's being blamed for this, how come the pain varies so much if that imperfection is always there? I mean, if you're injured, if you're recently injured, let's say that I injured my shoulder and I can't lift it up like this, obviously it's gonna hurt each time I do the same movement. But in the case of TMS pain, usually the pain changes around. It's not exactly the same pain every time. So this is also one way of noticing that there's something else going on, really.
So how can you help yourself and others heal from chronic pain?
Okay, so yeah, I always say that healing always starts with self-awareness. So it's, first of all, making the link between your stressors, what had been going on in your life before the pain came up or when the pain came up, okay? So linking your stressors to the pain. So establishing that link, really having a good look at what was happening in your life. What were you not happy about? What are you not happy about right now? What makes you frustrated, okay? So the course will teach you, the psychophysiological processes involved in the generation of pain, okay? To make you aware of what has led to pain in the first place, and also what is making it persist, because then there's the other aspect. Why does it persist? And usually it persists because of the way we react to the pain itself. So obviously a lot of people react to the pain with fear, naturally, okay? They think it's dangerous to move, for example. They start accommodating the pain. So let's say someone with back pain decides to get an ergonomic chair and decides to only sit on that chair because this is the only safe chair for his back. Now, by doing that, what he's doing is he's validating the fact that sitting on another chair or doing something else is dangerous for him. So he's validating kind of a false belief, the belief that his back is too broken to be sitting on other chairs, for example. So the more we accommodate pain, the more activities we avoid because of TMS pain, and we keep limiting these activities sometimes, the more we can make the problem persist, okay? Because we are magnifying the problem.
Okay. So personal and professional benefits of learning this information, being able to help yourself and other people.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, in the course, we'll teach you how to identify the triggers to mind-body syndrome. I've already mentioned a few, okay? So the triggers can be a time of year when you've had a traumatic experience, okay? So it can be pain by association, or you get pain whenever you meet someone who you don't get along well with, or whenever you go to a place where you don't feel quite comfortable, okay? So there are various triggers. Sometimes the triggers can be physical movements, because there can be physical movements that you associate with a past injury, and because of that, you maintain the mind-body syndrome, okay? So during the course, you really increase your own self-awareness, okay? And also you work on your own personal development. Whether you have psychosomatic symptoms or not, you will still find this exercise is helpful to just increase your self-awareness, see what you really want for yourself, okay? See what's holding you back maybe from your goals and move forward. So we've included a personal journal as well, which you'll work on just on your own. You don't need to send it out to us, okay? It's just for your own personal self-development.
You can't change what you are not first aware of. So this personal journal that Miriam has created that's included in the course, that isn't part of your submission, but is incredibly insightful and supportive of your own self-awareness, is such a fantastic tool that the current students moving through the course are absolutely loving and finding incredibly beneficial. So it's a great little addition for you with the additional resources. And when we have a sneak peek through the course area, I am going to show you what those bonus resources are, including that journal.
Yes, thank you, Viki. Yeah, so as I say, it always starts with self-awareness, because if you're not aware that your emotions are causing your pain, then you're going to blame something else outside of yourself for your chronic pain. You're going to blame an old injury, you're going to blame an imperfection, you're going to maybe think that you have a disease or something. And for as long as you're going to blame something else outside of yourself, you're going to feel helpless, powerless, okay? And you're not going to be able to move forward. And this is where it gets really tricky for people to heal from TMS sometimes, because they're stuck in the cycle of victimhood. The victim mentality is so damaging, okay? Because it makes you feel powerless. So you're stuck and moving ahead. You can't even imagine a different scenario. So the course will also teach you how to deepen your understanding of neuroscience and neuroplasticity, okay? Because all of these things I'm explaining can be explained in terms of neuroplasticity, what happens in the brain, the changes that happen in the brain due to the development of new habits, okay? And how this, it relates to the generation of the pain response. So as I mentioned before, the brain can actually learn to generate pain on autopilot. It can learn to generate pain even when you're doing a really harmless activity, okay? Because it can become super sensitive, okay? It can kind of overreact, basically. And we'll teach you how to undo that response, okay? The various ways, including, for example, relaxation techniques, that can actually start to change that overreaction, let's say, in the brain towards certain triggers. Okay, so that's the next point. You learn different pain reprocessing techniques. So the course also includes some example meditations, for example, to teach people how to respond differently to chronic pain, because this is also another key element. To get out of the cycle, you have to stop responding to pain with fear, trepidation, dread, disappointment, frustration. You have to first start responding to the pain a little bit more neutrally, okay? Maybe even welcome it in, say hi to the pain. You need to cultivate a different attitude, because only with that attitude, you can start sending a different signal to the brain, okay? And finally, obviously, since you're going to be helping clients, probably, you're going to learn how to ask them the right questions, okay? And how to identify what is keeping them stuck in the pain cycle. Because usually there are some factors that keep people stuck. One of them is doubt, okay? So they keep wondering whether there's something else, that it's not TMS, that their old injury is still responsible for their pain, whatever, okay? But there are different other stumbling blocks. Some people just can't get over the disappointment each time the pain returns. So you would need to teach them how to deal with that resistance towards the symptoms, how to release that resistance towards the symptoms. In other cases, it might be that the people, your clients would still be stuck in a really, really unpleasant and stressful situation, and they're not doing anything about it. And that's really contributing to their pain levels. So they might also need guidance on how to move forward with this, how to release certain emotions, and maybe, move forward. Okay, so number 6, it's a certification course in the field of TMS. It's one of the few certification courses that's also aimed at people who are not already specialized as a doctor, who are not already medical professionals.
Okay. What makes this certification unique in the field of TMS? One thing you just said was that
yes,
geared towards people who are not medically trained and who would specifically like to work in this area and maybe have different backgrounds of working with clients. So it's really important to understand this first paragraph at the top. Most conventional treatments for chronic conditions address just the symptoms and not actually the true cause of the pain. And remember, we're talking about pain that is persisting longer than 6 months to rule out anything else that may be that cause of that pain. But if it's ongoing and it's persistence, it's changing in how it's being felt or its position in the body, if it's being in a reaction to stressful situation, relationship demands, pressure, or reactivating an old injury, etc., everything that Miriam's already gone through, it's really important then to be aware of, if you want to address the symptoms, if you want to actually recover and heal that chronic pain, you must, first become aware, but also look beyond the symptoms to the true root cause, the root psychosomatic cause or causes of that chronic pain. So because traditionally the symptoms are addressed in such a way, it often only provides temporary relief, which, if you are aware of the placebo effect, you know what that actually means. The MindBody Syndrome TMS approach to chronic pain will help you to get to the root of psychosomatic symptoms by identifying those emotional triggers and habitual modes of behavior that are responsible for the generation of mind-body pain. it's really important to understand those emotional triggers and habitual modes of behavior and how they're conditioned. And that's one thing that we love to talk about at the Institute with all of our courses is our emotional conditioning, our brain circuitry, and how certain memories, experiences, and belief systems can generate and keep those circuits, those neuronal connections of certain experiences and our feelings or response or reactions to them alive within the nervous system and within the body. So the focus behind this particular course and why Miriam and I had such a passionate discussion to want to get this course out there and supporting people is because it's going to teach you to aim for complete recovery. So I remember as we were creating the course page, Miriam, you said to me, in the community of TMS, it's not about treating the symptoms. It's not about trying to manage symptoms or manage pain. It's actually aiming to overcome them. It's aiming to recover completely.
There are enough courses about pain management, okay? And even the word management itself, I don't quite like it personally because it implies to you that that's all you can do. You can only manage it. You can't, just step and overcome it. So TMS is about complete recovery. It's not management. And it's all about thinking psychologically. Sarno used to love to use this word, think psychologically. Whenever you get pain, instead of thinking physically, what could be wrong in my body, you have to think like, what could have been going wrong in my life?
Yeah, and that's what's really unique and what's also very exciting about this particular approach, because it's empowering the individual to take an active role in their recovery. When you're in victimhood, when you are struggling with chronic pain for a very long period of time, and we have had students come to our courses who have experienced chronic pain for 20 plus years, who came to the work of Dr. Sarno, were so inspired to learn more about the mind-body connection, about MindBody Syndrome, TMS, that they wanted to share this information with other people. And they wanted to also learn more about this information for themselves, because they were ready to take the responsibility of taking an active role in their own recovery, because it's so much more empowering when you understand what's happening. Otherwise, it's very easy to fall into waiting for the general practitioner or the family physician or the chiropractor or the other specialist that you may be seeing. And there usually is a very long line of specialists that one goes to over a period of time, trying to find a way to manage or deal with this chronic pain. This is what is so special about it, is that you can actually become more responsible for what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are experiencing, what you are creating within your body, and be aware of that so that you can then actually do something about it with the tools. Do you want to say anything else on that, Miriam?
Exactly. No, I think you've put it out there quite perfectly, actually. So yes, the responsibility factor is very, very important. It's all about taking responsibility for what's happening yourself, instead of just always trying to blame what happened to you, what you've been through. Instead of always telling yourself the same story, because for as long as you're going to tell yourself the same story and cultivate the same negative emotions every day in response to your pain, then you're gonna keep getting the same response in the body as well. Okay, and that's why chronic pain can last a lifetime. It's not because something has not healed, it's because you're constantly feeding it with the same emotions, basically.
So as a practitioner, you'll learn how to identify possible emotional factors behind chronic pain, what is causing the chronic pain, and work with these in order to help yourself or individuals that you choose to work with to build the necessary habits needed to end the pain cycle altogether. Really, really important. So who is this course for? You don't necessarily need to have a background as a medical professional, as a physician, as a chiropractor. It could be anyone who has a passion to help people with chronic pain. And usually most of our students come to these courses because of their own personal experience, their personal growth, their wake up, their journey in their own life that made them suffer for a very long time. And they've got to the point of I want to do something about it. And that's kickstarted their self-awareness and their search for something to actually help them take responsibility for their lives and to make conscious change. So we often see a lot of people come to this work who already have struggled with chronic pain for a very long time and who have started to awaken to the ability they have within themselves to actually heal it and overcome. So we do have a mixture of coaches and therapists and practitioners. And we hope that you have a love of the mind-body connection and neuroscience and pain science and the brain and body and nervous system. It's also beneficial for qualified mental health professionals and wellness practitioners. We do have chiropractors and family physicians currently enrolled in this course alongside lay people, life coaches, and those who just want to learn this information to heal for themselves. So it also is very supportive of those individuals who are on their own personal healing journey. Would you add anything to that, Miriam?
Not really. I think you've put it quite perfectly there. It's obviously the focus is to help you support others, of course, but if you just want to do it to get over your own symptoms, overcome your own symptoms, if you really, really have an interest in the science behind pain, then it will also benefit you. It's just about making you aware of what's happening really when someone gets chronic pain.
Okay, so accreditation. As you can see on the right-hand side there, the modality recognition. This was a modality that we had to submit with all of the information about the course, the assessment process, the requirements, the learning, and make sure that we could get this approved with insurance companies around the world to ensure that this would be a new modality that would be recognized and that would be insurable for you to work with clients. And if that is something that you would like to do, that's absolutely something that you can achieve by completing this course. We do have one prerequisite if you don't have any client experience behind you, if you do not have any previous training working with clients in a change work environment, in a health environment, a medical environment, then we do recommend that you undertake our Holistic Life Coaching Foundation certificate course prior to doing this course, because it will give you an excellent foundation of beliefs and conditioning and a coaching environment so that you can really set the scene and the boundaries and expectations between you and your client in order to get the maximum benefit of working with your client in this way, applying the knowledge and the tools of MindBody Syndrome. So what you get is a beautiful certificate on the left-hand side, and the ability to actually gain insurance and set yourself up as a practitioner to work with clients. Or if you already are qualified in some capacity and you meet that prerequisite, this is a fantastic course to provide you the additional information, knowledge, awareness, resources. Miriam has resourced this course and referenced exceptionally well throughout. So you have a lot of additional tools and resources and references at your disposal so that you can enhance your existing practice, whether that is working with clients in some sort of health or fitness capacity or sports capacity. If you're a chiropractor or a physician who regularly sees people with chronic pain, this will also definitely enhance your knowledge and ability to approach working with those people and specifically helping them and their mind-body syndrome. Miriam, would you like to add anything to that?
Just perhaps that it all starts with education. A lot of people are not educated about this, and obviously it's people like us, coaches, wellness professionals, that have to start educating people that it is not crazy. It is really possible to get pain as a result of what's going on emotionally, because this is something that sounds unfamiliar to so many people, unfortunately. And also Western medicine really likes to, by default, it always attempts to find a structural explanation for pain. There's like during a first examination, like for chronic pain, almost no doctor would ask you whether there was something going on emotionally. Some of them do, and some of them are aware that stress is a contributing factor, but then they wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know how to guide people on reducing that stress or on dealing with those repressed emotions. So this is why the course is so special, because it actually doesn't just tell you, why TMS happens, but also teaches you how you can overcome it.
Yeah, education is really, really key. And the beautiful thing is when you educate someone who has never heard of this before, yet who has struggled with chronic pain for years and years and years, you are giving them not only hope, but you are giving them an explanation, something that maybe all of the specialists and medical professionals that they have seen previous to you have not been able to give them. So it is incredibly empowering when you can share this education to inform someone that their pain is real, but this is why it's happening, and this is what we can do about it. So that's something that is unique and very special when someone then can take into their own hands their ability to heal. And neuroplasticity is a self-directed way towards healing, particularly with MindBody syndrome, because we are working with the psychological conditioning of the very reasons or very experiences why some of the chronic symptoms are being created in the first place. So it really puts the responsibility, but also the ability onto the client to know that there is something that they can do. And with your support, you can help them move through to become pain-free. So what we're going to do now, this is actually the first page of the MindBody Syndrome prospectus course guide. And I've actually put that PDF into the chat box. So if you'd like to go to the chat box and just scroll up just a touch, you will see that there is a link there for you to open this PDF in your browser and download the PDF so that you can look at that later at your leisure. In the meantime, though, what I'd really like to do is to take you for a quick sneak peek behind the scenes of our student platform. But first, what I've got here is a picture of Miriam, who is a rock climber. This is a picture of her doing her thing. And this was something that her own experience with TMS prevented her from doing for quite some time. But you are now actively back climbing rocks when you can, when COVID permits.
Exactly. No, I've been very lucky with that, actually. I've been climbing all through COVID, so can't complain. Yeah.
There you go. So these are the stages. There are 3 stages of the course. I'm just going to show you them quickly, what they look like on the course page. And then I'm going to show you what they look like in the actual student course dashboard, where as a student, you first come in and have a look at everything that is outlined for you and then can get access to the material. So stage 1, MindBody Syndrome Basics. This is what is covered. Stage 2, working with neuroplasticity and mindset shifts. It's geared towards taking those steps towards being pain-free and the way forward, the conflicting beliefs, the symptom imperative, which Miriam can explain if someone would like to know, and all the way to the final assessment. So when a new student joins this course, this is actually what they see. They come into their student course dashboard. This is the actual student course dashboard for our students. You can see everything is very clearly laid out, communication with course content. There are 15 lessons in PDF, and they also have teaching webinars that go along with them for additional information and real life examples. And there are 3 practical workbooks that are completed at the end of each of those stages. At the beginning, though, you do get access to your personal journal, some meditations, and some other great resources, assessments, so that you have that information to help grow your awareness as you progress through the course. So you can see there are 6 months to complete this course. The 15 lessons are actually released over a period of 8 weeks. So you can theoretically complete this course in 2 months and gain certification. We do have a video training vault where we have about 6 different video training vaults at the moment. We have live collaborative practice with our coaching students. We have our training vault with guest presenters and trainers on different aspects of working with clients, and lots more. So you will get access to the video training vaults. They are in the main course dashboard that you access prior to coming to your course dashboard, and you'll be able to have an access to all of those as well. This is what the actual course looks like inside. So we put the units and lessons all together for the 3 different stages. You can see stage 1 has 6 lessons here, and then the assessment at the end. Stage 2 has 5 lessons, and stage 3 has 4 before your final assessment. And what I've actually done is click on these to open them already for you so you can see what the beginning of each stage looks like. So stage 1, MindBody Syndrome Basics, and your bonuses folder. There's always a little bit of information there just to prepare you and let you know what you're about to learn in this stage and what it covers. And in particular for the very first stage at the very beginning of the course, these are some bonuses that Miriam has put together for you. So you do get access to your personal journal, and that's something that you can use throughout your learning for greater self-awareness, insight, and getting to know your symptoms, getting to know your own thought processes, and being able to, in a private space, put down your thoughts and explore what's really happening for you. There's some fantastic prompting questions that Miriam has put in here for you. This is the actual personal journal here. Take you up to the top. So this is not for submission. This is for your personal use throughout. It is about 40-something pages, and it will take you throughout each of the lessons, each of the 15 lessons throughout the entire course. So it gives you some prompts here to work on, to become aware of, to really increase your own insight and learning as you progress through. And it's a great way for you to get to know yourself and your symptoms and all the things that go along with it. So that is the first bonus that is in the course. You've got your TMS questionnaire, which is here. So this has all been put together for you by Miriam so that you can assess your own symptoms and how many you have, and really assess if it is considered mind-body syndrome. Then you've got pre-session intake form for clients, and you've got a chronic pain guided meditation and also a chronic pain guided visualization, which Miriam put together, and they are really nice listening. Do you want to say anything about that, Miriam, before I progress?
Not really, just one thing about the personal journal. Even if you don't suffer from chronic pain anymore, it's not just, there are various exercises. So each exercise I tailor to both people who might have symptoms and people who do not. So it's more about self-development and awareness, making you aware of your current stressors, even if you don't have symptoms, and making you aware of what you can improve in your life, and all the issues that you've been dealing with, how you can deal with them better, and so on. So it's not just for those of you who have a chronic symptom.
So with the lessons, these are all of the lessons that are in stage 1. You just start with the first one, which I've already got open for you. So you can actually see inside the lesson area. So this is the very first module. You can see that the webinar, the teaching webinar that Miriam has done, is at the top. And you can see that you download your module 1 here. You simply click it open. It will open in a browser, and there you can download your PDF. There are always directions. We try and make everything as clear and simple and easy for you to follow as possible. You simply complete it when that lesson is done, and when the next one's available, you can click next and move on. So I've got lesson 6 open here as well, the nocebo effect and pain. And you can see it's very similar, very uniform throughout, and easy to access each of your lessons as you go through. Here is stage 2, the very beginning. Again, it has a description of what you're going to learn in these lessons of stage 2. Has all your lessons down the bottom. Start with lesson 1. This is what stage 2 lesson 1 actually looks like. So again, you have your teaching webinar at the top, and you can click here to download your PDF. And the same with stage 3. And then we go to, this is lesson 2 of stage 3, just to give you something a little bit different to look at there. So that's the actual course content and our learning area. You can see there are a lot of courses on the right-hand side, having access to every single one of them. They're all down the side, but yours will just have the course that you're enrolled in. I'm going to stop share now so that I can invite you, if you'd like to turn on your video, or if you don't feel comfortable being on video, you're very welcome to unmute yourself if you have a particular question. We're very open to answering your questions now for the next 5 to 10 minutes or so that we can sort of wind up and not hold you up any longer. Thank you so much for being here and staying with us this long. So if anyone has a particular question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I do see a question from Aurora in the chat box. How can we differentiate this syndrome with chronic pain from a chronic illness where the pain fluctuates through the menstrual month, for example, endometriosis? Do you have any comments on that, Miriam? We are doing a women's holistic hormone health practitioner live Q&A next Wednesday, and Jennifer probably will have some things to say about that. But from a mind-body syndrome perspective, and how you can differentiate that from a chronic illness such as endometriosis and menstrual cycles.
Yeah, so endometriosis is not really qualified under TMS. So because it's so evident, like when you on ultrasound, for example, so you can see what's the cause, and it also fluctuates according to the menstrual cycle. So it's not really, it doesn't really fall under TMS. So we wouldn't really address it in the course. The only thing is that I really like to keep my mind open, because I know of people who healed endometriosis through mind-body work, so through meditation, for example, and through cultivating a different mindset. So it's not TMS in the sense that it's not just emotional pain. It obviously has to do maybe with menstrual cycle, but I always like to keep an open mind also like for other illnesses, but it doesn't really fall, under the scope of the course, perhaps. So, yeah. As you said, I think it would be more relevant to discuss it as part of the hormone course.
Yeah, and Aurora, if you would like to register for our Women's Holistic Hormone Health Live Q&A next Wednesday on the 8th of September, then Jennifer would probably be happy to address those kinds of pain and symptoms from hormonal imbalance point of view. Does anyone else have a question that you would like to ask us? If you don't feel comfortable putting your video on or your audio, you're very welcome to type inside the chat box there and just ask your question via that way, and we can answer that for you. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask us? While we are sort of allowing people to think about whether they have a question or not, Miriam, is there anything that you'd like to sort of add on to this discussion today that you'd like people present or on the replay to know about the course?
Okay, let me think. I mean, I think we've covered, practically all the aspects. I'd just like to emphasize that the course also contains additional resources that back up, what I've written, and it's up to you, up to the students, to decide how deep they want to go. I mean, I recommend some essential books, of course, that can really go alongside the course, but then there are also, for example, resources such as studies, and research that is actually validating the TMS approach. So you can really kind of take as long as you like on each lesson, depending on how deep you would like to look into it.
And on screen, you can see that apart from those additional tools and resources and references that Miriam's put together for you in the course, there are some bonus visualizations, somatic tracking exercises, that personal journal that you had a quick look at. You also come into our private practitioner Facebook community. If you choose to, we do have plenty of students who are not active on social media and prefer not to be a part of that. But then we also have students who don't particularly like social media, but actually create a Facebook account just so they can join our community. It is an amazing, supportive, wonderful community with our students and graduates around the world, and it is just a fantastic place to connect with fellow students, to link up with some of the students who are looking for coaching clients to practice with, and just a really great way to connect with other people who are interested in this information or who are also doing your course, so that you can get together and study or discuss things. It's really up to you. Thank you so much, Nadia. It's been lovely having you here. And Aurora, thank you for your question. Michelle, how much is the course? It's a very fair price, and it's because we're so passionate about this information, and Miriam particularly wants this information to get out there. It is just 897 AUD. So depending on where you are in the world, you may need a currency converter to convert that over, but it's 897 AUD. And it is likely, depending on the feedback that we're getting of anything else that the students might want in the course, or anything that Miriam decides to put in there additional, it is possible that the course price may increase prior to Christmas. So just keep that in mind. But it currently is $897. If you would like to contact us, these are the ways to get in touch with us. Thanks, Michelle. Yes, converting that, you will get a good deal. Converting pounds to AUD is definitely in your favour. But we like to have our courses in AUD and Australian dollars because we are an Australian education company, and it just feels right for us. So we do know that that makes it more affordable in the comparison rate for people around the world. We don't care about that. We really just care about getting this information out there and making it more accessible to people who need it. So if you'd like to send us a question, please email us to courses@mindbodyfoodinstitute.com. You can visit the website, mindbodyfoodinstitute.com, to have a look at our courses. And there you will be able to go to the MindBody Syndrome TMS course page. And you can also give us a call. That is the international calling code 001161 is our country calling code, 07 is our state, and that is our actual number there. And it is Brisbane, Australian Eastern Standard Time in Queensland. You can also visit and like us on our Facebook page or follow us on our Instagram account. If there aren't any other questions, we'll wind this up, but thank you so much for being here. We hope you have learned something new today and you've taken some educational insight and value away with you. That's really important to us. So we hope that this information has been supportive and helpful of you personally, whether you're considering doing this for a career or you're interested in studying the course. We hope that you have taken away something valuable to support you today. So thank you so much for being here. Miriam, do you have anything that you'd like to finish on before we end up?
Yeah, just to encourage you, if you are interested in the mind-body connection, or if you believe that somehow your own symptoms maybe have something to do maybe with your stress levels, with your anxiety, just don't dismiss that thought right now. Just learn a little bit more about TMS and how it works, because it will be worthwhile. This knowledge is really, really valuable. And it might blow your mind away in the beginning, because it's so fascinating how our bodies can actually produce real symptoms due to what's happening emotionally. So yeah, I just encourage you to look into it if this resonates just a little bit with you.
Can I got a question?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. So is it possible to do the holistic life coaching course first before doing this? Even though it can be, sort of applying these things like on my personal life, to start off before thinking about kind of being trained as a career or, to being a health coach or something.
I think it's always important to first ask yourself, what is the aim for you? What would you like to be able to do at the moment? Do you have an idea that you would like to work with people, or is it purely for personal interest to begin with? What would you like to be able to do with it, Irene?
Yes, I think it's for me personally. I had a health challenge like towards end of last year. And it's kind of triggered off my thinking along that how that our mind and our emotion and our body are all linked together. And if one area is sort of not functioning well, or not whole, and it can affect the other parts of the body. I mean, so that's just my initial awareness. So just looking at it like more purely for myself for now. But if the interest grows, stronger later, then I might think about it as a career. So yeah. So the question is that should I jump into this course or should I start with the holistic? Because like I don't want to jump into this course where it's quite sort of a bit more intense. Maybe I should start off with the holistic course first to sort of understand more about the basic kind of knowledge about how that the holistic approach to health.
Well, Irene, this is a great course for you to gain awareness and insight personally for your own situation, to improve your health, depending on what's happening with your health and what you'd like to achieve from that. It's completely up to you. If you just want to do this course, which is absolutely sufficient in you gaining the information to support yourself and will give you a good idea of looking at the big picture holistically. It won't teach you how to work with clients. It will enhance your ability to do so if you already possess those skills, but you don't necessarily need to do the holistic life coaching course first if you're not ready yet to work with clients. If you primarily would like to support and help your own healing, then you can do the course for your own personal experience, and we can issue a statement of attainment. And if later down the track you decide that you love this work so much that you do want to be able to learn how to help other people, and you decide to enroll in one of our holistic life coaching courses, then we can then issue you with the certification for this course combined with the other. There's no problem with that at all. Miriam, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm just afraid that maybe Irene thinks that that the course is a little bit too deep or maybe too scientific for her. But the thing is, the way it's explained, I don't think you'll find it too difficult, to grasp. And it will really, if you suffer from chronic issues, I think kind of that's the best way to go, because it deals specifically with chronic issues. So yeah, but don't be intimidated by maybe certain words I've used in the presentation, like neuroplasticity or whatever. You learn exactly what that means in a more simple, easy to understand manner. So
yeah, definitely. Miriam's done a fantastic job on explaining the concepts and making it very accessible and relatable in the way that the information is presented. So it's not going to be lots of medical terminology coming at you that you might be a little bit intimidated by. It's not like that at all. It is very much made accessible and easy to understand, relatable, and it just makes sense. And that's one of the beautiful things about having courses that are educational and relatable and accessible, is that when they do make sense, it resonates with you a lot more to be able to internalize and apply the information to support your own journey with it. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much that this is not the one to start with. It's a great course to start with for personal awareness and education, and also self-empowerment. You can decide later on about the other one. We don't want to have you enroll in a course that you're not ready to do yet, or that isn't quite what you need at the moment. It's more important for you just to trust your own instincts and see what resonates with you, and what is it that you're being called to do first. Is it to really support yourself and to get yourself to a great place of health and well-being, and then help other people if that's something that you can do at that stage, or what? So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, you're spot on that. Yeah, it's more to help myself first with self-awareness and sort of getting a bit more understanding of wholeness holistically, and then see how that goes.
Right.
So you can't help yourself if you can't help other people, right? That's what.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And what we also encourage is definitely to apply the knowledge. Knowledge is great, but if we don't actually apply it to ourselves, if we don't integrate it into our daily lives, then we're not going to really fundamentally understand it in an applicable way. So that's why we always encourage you to actually use the tools, use the exercises, gain the insights, gain the benefit, and really understand from the perspective of future clients, or even just from friends and family who you may go on to help with the knowledge that you may learn for yourself. So it's more about really living the information, and then you have confirmation it works. It works, you're gaining those benefits, and then you can share that with others.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Irene. Thanks so much for asking that question. And because we've whittled down to just this small little group now, I want to thank you very much for being here live with us, and for participating, and for sticking with us and learning about what we have to offer. Thanks so much, Miriam, for sharing your wisdom as well, and your knowledge. And we wish you all a wonderful day or a wonderful evening. And if you do have any questions at any time, please reach out to us on courses@mindbodyfoodinstitute.com, or you can visit the website mindbodyfoodinstitute.com and have a look at our courses. And this particular course, MindBody Syndrome TMS Practitioner, is under our Mind Body Medicine courses. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here or for watching the replay. If you have any questions, please get in touch. We're happy to answer them, and we wish you happy and well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.